Hello. When a person is wanting to use one of the bikes at the kiosk, the computer screen on the kiosk will ask them whether they are a yearly subscriber or if they are a one-time user. Once that is determined, the hardware will either offer them the chance to choose a bike or will show them the rates and ask them for a form of payment and an email address. The hardware will then give them a choice of bike, record which kiosk they are using, the bike chosen, and the time. After the bike is returned, the hardware will record the kiosk that they are now using, the time that it was returned. If the customer is a one-time user, the hardware will show them on the monitor the charge to be placed on their card and send an email with the receipt. The yearly subscriber will also get an email thanking them for using the bike kiosk and letting them know how much they saved by being a yearly subscriber. It's very important that you have yearly subscribers to keep showing them that they're getting a value for their money. If they can see tangible proof that the yearly subscription, let's say, cost $100 per year, but they would have been charged $200 in the course of that year if they had not been a yearly subscriber, they will know they made a wise choice. This can backfire, however, if they've spent the $100 for the year but only would have used $50 worth of services. But you would have to think that a person who spends money on a yearly subscription to rent bikes would be an avid bike rider. So I think the risk for them, this backfiring, would be pretty small. The system organization that I've chosen for my bike kiosk would be an asymmetric cluttered system. This would have one system monitor the other bike kiosks to ensure all is working and would take the place of any system that is not working. The master system would be located at the office while the slave systems would be on each bike kiosk. This would be the best system because it would be easily updated. If there was a software update, the IT department would only have to run one update. They would not have to go to each kiosk to run that update. The following components would be part of the agriculture of the IS that would make the bike sharing system work. The software components that would be used would be GPS, which would keep track of where the bikes are so that nobody could walk off with a bike without paying for it. The credit card software, the map program so that you know where the bikes are in a specific area and keep track of them with the GPS. The encryption software to ensure that the credit cards being used, the chances of them being hacked or stolen would be very limited. The firewall software, which would also include to protect the system from any outside sources near the bike kiosk. Email software and an inventory software that keeps track of which bikes are at which kiosk. The database component would include the subscription list, which would have a list of all the subscribers, whether their credit cards were charged, when their subscription is due, and that so that you could keep track of that stuff. It would also keep track of anything where the credit card was declined, so that you can get back with them and make sure that they give you the right credit card, and why it was declined. The hardware component, which would include the monitors, screens, the credit card machine, the firewall hardware, and the GPS devices that are actually attached to each of the bikes. Now, security is something that has to be a big concern because you are using the public Wi-Fi. Now, the last thing any owner would want is to make the news that their system was hacked and their customers' private information was stolen. This is a big risk for a company that relies solely on the internet. So you have to be aware that when you're using the free Wi-Fi in the city, that there is a chance the system could be hacked. The bike kiosks, while placed all over the city, would be relying on the security of the city's Wi-Fi, but they must make sure that they are more secure than that public Wi-Fi. One thing to be done to limit the risk of using a public Wi-Fi system is to create a virtual private network, or what's called a VPN. A VPN is like a tunnel that keeps out prying eyes. The kiosk would log into the VPN so that if it would have a secure connection to the network, shielding their activities from cyber criminals or public Wi-Fi. Another thing that would keep customer information safe is an up-to-date firewall, both at each kiosk but also the master computer at the office, to ensure that a virus cannot enter either system. The important part of that is up to date. It's not something that you can run once and just know that it's working, as people are coming up with new viruses and Trojans all the time. So you would want to make sure that you kept up to date and keep track of what is the most common risk. It is also important that each monitor, on top of all this other security, has an encryption software for the credit card information, because you are sending it over a public Wi-Fi. You do not need or want to have that type of information easily accessible by hackers or by the cyber criminals. The steps that are needed to be in place when for us to design the IS system, um, so there are steps that you need to get everything in place to design the system. While it looks good on paper, the IT professional must test and retest all parts of the system to ensure that there are no glitches in the system. Once a system is up and running, they need to do some dry runs to make sure it is a smooth process for their customers. Nothing will frustrate their customers more than to have glitches in the system when they're planning on basically getting a bike and getting on their way. They don't want to spend 20 minutes while the system is rebooting, or it's not working, or it's down. The other thing that they need to consider is what would happen if the city Wi-Fi went down. They need to make sure that they have a plan B, so that they're not losing business because for some reason the system is down. But once they have a plan B, then they'll be able to, anticipate if there's any issue. So now that the system is up and running, each kiosk are going to need to be signed into the VPN, and they will need to be tested to ensure that they operate without an issue. They need to have mock trials where somebody goes and rents a bike, goes and has each scenario, so that they don't have to worry about anything happening, and that everything does smooth. Now that all the systems are in place, everything's running well, the firewalls are in place, they need to hire a company to try and hack the system to make sure that they have closed all the back doors. They don't want to find that somebody forgot to do something and they're stuck because people have been able to hack into their system right away. They will also need to make sure that the GPS system is working and will give them the management an accurate location of all the bikes. Because again, being that they're out there and they're unmonitored, you don't want your bikes to be walking off on their own. So you want to be able to find them and have that location relatively close to where the bike is actually located. Now that you've got all that in place, the next step is basically to open for business and begin enrolling people in as the yearly subscribers. And you're going to want to advertise and get the word out that what you're doing, so that it's everybody that is interested can sign up. And the very last step, which is of course, is to watch the money roll in, because after all, this is a great plan. You've got your bikes in the exact right position and in great places, so people will have access to them. So it is important that that everything now is in place, and you'll be able to just basically monitor everything going on. Thank you very much, and you all have a nice day.